we hear people on the so-called progressives, the left, talking about abortion as though it is a human right. And when Roe v. Wade was overturned, when the Supreme Court made the only decision it could legally, constitutionally make, because the Constitution of the United States does not confer a right to an abortion. Even Ruth Bader Ginsburg agreed with that. And so a lot of people take the position that, okay, this is 50 years of precedent that was just wiped off the books, which is incorrect and misleading. Plessy v. Ferguson was 60 years worth of precedent. Aren't we glad that it was overturned? So that, precedent is not a reason to continue a wrong. So just as the wrong that was ruled and ordered in Plessy v. Ferguson, the wrong of Roe v. Wade has been corrected. The court did not say that abortion is banned in the United States. It simply said it's not a federal question because it's not a constitutional issue, and it's a question that should go back to each state. Well, ever since that time, we've heard everything from women are going to die. Black women in particular are going to die. I even heard one pastor say that 30% more children are going to die. I don't know where he gets those numbers because in abortion, all children die. But be that as it may, we have people running around acting as though women are going to die because if they have a pregnancy complication, they can't get an abortion. Well, abortion is not used to treat pregnancy complications. So that's misleading and that's a lie. The main thing that really disturbs me is this notion that women cannot be free unless they have the right to kill their baby, especially Black women. And somehow they've managed to marry the issue of abortion to Black civil rights. Any movement they want to give legitimacy to, they link it to Black civil rights. So Black women cannot be free unless they have the right to kill their baby. And that is just insanity. Because if we look at the whole history of the abortion movement, if we go back to Margaret Sanger, who was the founder of Planned Parenthood, who made it very clear that, and she compared Black people to human weeds who don't deserve to live. She specifically said, we don't want word to get out that we want to exterminate the Black race. I mean, once slavery was over and people like her felt that Black people were no longer needed, Planned Parenthood, abortion, birth control was utilized to control and limit the Black population. And even Ruth Bader Ginsburg in a New York Times interview admitted that she said, quote, frankly, I always thought Roe was about population control, especially those populations that we don't want to have too many of. And I think we all know who that is. So that's why every Planned Parenthood, nearly everyone, is located in or near a Black community. That's why of the 63 million plus babies that have been aborted since 1973, when Roe v. Wade was put into law, that's why of the 63 million plus babies, 20 million plus have been Black babies. Margaret Sanger would be very pleased because her ideas have had a devastating impact on the Black community. And what she did when she established the first Planned Parenthood, which was in or near Harlem, she specifically started what she called the Negro Project. And the Negro Project was a project where she got Black ministers to push this whole idea of abortion, and she called it family planning. And Planned Parenthood, they're not planning parenthood, but they named it Planned Parenthood. But it's had a devastating effect on our community. In Pennsylvania alone, the Black population is about 12% more than 40% of all the abortions performed in Pennsylvania are on Black women. In some cities like New York City, almost Philadelphia, nearly half the pregnancies of Black women end in abortion. And yet they want to act like this is a civil rights issue. And it breaks my heart that most of our Black elected officials and too many of our Black ministers are pushing this agenda. And, you know, God has made it very clear in His Word, thou shalt not kill. He's made it very clear in His Word how He hates hands that shed innocent blood. And abortion is the shedding of innocent blood. And I believe that our people are paying a price for it because we are not even at replacement numbers. Our population is stagnant, and it just breaks my heart that so many so-called leaders would perpetuate and encourage people to adhere to this atrocity.
Judge Allen, thank you so much for just laying out the truth and exposing, because there's so much misinformation, and it's so important that we view it in its proper context and understanding the history of it and why it's detrimental and it's horrible what has happened.
In essence, you know, we are sacrificing our children for convenience. You know, most abortions, and, you know, they will throw out, well, what about rape and incest? When you talk about rape and incest, you're talking about less than 1% of all of the abortions. And, you know, I'm not sitting here as someone who is, you know, looking down on people who get abortions. I'm not doing that. You know, I believe abortion is sin, but I believe we're all sinners, including me, especially me. And I think that women who find themselves in a crisis situation, or who find themselves with an unwanted pregnancy, need ministry. They need support. They need encouragement. And women who've had abortions need ministry. Because the left would have you believe that a woman can go into an abortion clinic and come out unscathed. And that's just simply not true. There are a lot of people who are in a lot of pain. And so, you know, that's our mission field, to work with these women who've had abortions, to let them know that we serve a God who forgives and who restores, and to work with people who are misguided into thinking that this is how they can salvage their lives and by having an abortion. You know, there's a cost for sin, and there's a cost. It costs something. And, you know, you don't just go into an abortion clinic time after time using abortion as birth control and come out unscathed. Yeah. And so it's especially concerning about the Black community, and it breaks my heart. Mm-hmm. You know, so the people who are pushing this agenda. And I'll have to say this too, you know, when you talk to some of them, they'll say, well, you know, abortion is just a single issue. There are other issues. You know, poverty is a life issue. Healthcare is a life issue. Education, childcare, these are life issues. Well, there are no life issues if you don't have a life. You have to have life before you can have life issues. And so, and the thing about it is, abortion is final. These other matters can be fixed, but you cannot fix abortion. And so it's just very sad.